Hello, Women on Fire. There is an old adage, there is nothing permanent except change. Change, transition, upheaval. I know you've felt it. You may be feeling change in some way right now. Health, family, work, this odd time of coronavirus. So what do you do when the life you thought you were going to lead disintegrates, evaporates, and vanishes? Hi, Women on Fire, it's Debbie Phillips. And for our Women on Fire interview this month, we have something a bit different for you. It's been a year and a half since my beloved and brilliant husband and business partner, Rob Berkley, died from gastric cancer. Most recently, I moved out of the dream home we created together nearly 2 decades ago. I may have been married to Rob, but many of you knew him or were very close to him. And if you didn't know him, you've surely listened to his powerful messages in the Women on Fire archives and felt his support and his deep desire for you to live your best life. I started Women on Fire in 2003 because I wanted to create a community where women could move through life together to achieve their dreams through inspiration, strategies, and support. Moving together means moving together through good times as well as the most challenging and heartbreaking ones. Rob's death was the latter for us all. Getting through this past year and a half for me personally could not have happened without the support of all of you and a great team. It's the team members who month after month create the membership materials you receive. So today, to mark this final chapter of my life with Rob in saying goodbye to our home, which was really a container for lots of love, dreams, and great energy, I wanted to reshare some of Rob's wisdom, as well as to introduce you to our team. The loss of Rob wasn't just mine. My loss was felt by you, it was felt by our team, it was felt by everyone who loved and was coached by Rob. And I thought it might be instructive to your life in facing a loss for you to hear how we as a team coped after we lost one of our founding members. Rob truly was the rock behind so much of what Women on Fire was about and became. Even in his final live chat masterclass appearances, he told you how much he loved Women on Fire. So it is my great honor to introduce you to our team. We're all together on Zoom and we're recording this, which is super exciting to be able to see everybody. And first, I just want to say that we've all been working, this team that you're about to meet, we've all been working as a virtual team for so many years together. And I'm so glad we have, because when COVID hit, we didn't skip a beat. Everybody could continue to do their work. And it was enormously relieving that was one change we didn't have to deal with, because we were already used to all working together in this way. So I want to start out by asking each of you simply to introduce yourself, say where you live, and tell everybody what you do for Women on Fire. And Casey, I'm going to start with you.
Hi, Casey Cook. I'm the editor. I'm in Columbus, Ohio. And this is where I was when I met Debbie Phillips. I've known her my entire adult life.
We have. We were just barely out of teenagehood. Thank you. And yes, Casey is our amazing editor. Diane.
Hi, I'm Diane Phillips. Also, Debbie is my sweet sister-in-law. I live in Huntsville, Alabama, and I manage the member care side of Women on Fire. If you have any questions at all about your membership, feel free to reach out. I'm here for you.
Great. Sebastian.
Hello, everybody. So I'm Sebastian Kaupert. I designed the Women on Fire logo. So all the colorful yellow, orange graphics that you see, that was my doing. And I also prepared the artwork for the membership packet.
Thank you, Sebastian. Jimmy.
I'm Jimmy Parr, and I think from the beginning I've been the one who has been recording the bulk of these interviews and doing the editing, and I actually composed the theme music that gets played at the beginning and end of each episode. Enjoyed every minute of it.
And we love you back. Darren.
I'm Darren Stinson. I live in Miami, Florida, and I have the pleasure of spending my summers here on Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts. My official title is Executive Assistant, but I feel like, especially since Rob's passing, my role's expanded to more of like an operations manager, where I coordinate the team and I pick up all the loose ends.
Yes, she does. And that's been so, so important. And also we have a member, Laura Noon, who handles all of our technology. She lives in Asheville and Laura just moved. So she's taking a spa day and we applaud that. But Laura is an important part of our team. So Women on Fire, what I want to say is that in any organization, when you lose a member, when you lose a team, a leader or a founder, it shifts the energy and structure, as you just heard Darren comment. And at the same time, there also needs to be space. There needs to be space to and time to be able to grieve and incorporate that loss, honor that loss. And I think we've done a really good job of that over this last year and a half. But I really want to ask each team member, I want to ask them, how did you cope with losing Rob as a member of this team? And what is helping you, or what helped you in your grieving get through this past year and a half? And I'm going to ask Casey first. So Casey, how did you cope with losing Rob as a member of this team? Like, what helped you or is helping you in your grief?
Well, Rob did not leave us unprepared. From the first minute that I started working with him or first knew him, he's been like a mentor, and he taught us how to deal with problems, and he and you built a team that we could count on, and that's what has gotten me through, is the team. And if I don't know how to do something, someone on the team does, and I always feel the support.
That's really wonderful. Diane, let's move to you. You lost not only a team member, but you lost your brother-in-law.
And my boys were very close to Rob, as you know, and that's a big part of, having the strength. And when I think about Rob, and I think of how he lived his life in such an authentic way, and of course he had an extraordinary life, and he left such a strong and lasting legacy. On my wall in my office, I have a lot of his quotes, and I can refer to that a lot, and it gives me comfort and strength. And one of my most valued ones was, I've got a W squared R squared, and when I come across something that I'm not quite sure what to do or what the answer would be, I think, what would Rob recommend? So it's W squared R squared, and that means so much to me.
Yeah. Sebastian. And I know Sebastian and Rob were friends long before I knew Rob. So it was really wonderful when he brought you into the team.
Yeah, Rob and I first met in the mid-90s. We are a team to a great degree by how we are aware of each other, that we exist. And if it could ever be said of someone to maybe no longer be with us physically, Rob certainly is with us in spirit. And to me every moment. In fact, I have a picture of him. So he basically looks at me all day. It keeps him, close to me in spirit, and he continues to, in a way, mentor me.
How have you coped with your grief around him, both as a friend and as a colleague and as a mentor?
I think I've moved through my grief. I had moments where I spoke what Rob meant to me, and Rob was one of the first people who raised this notion to me that he saw my value, he saw my potential, and framed that for me in a way that I had never up to that point even thought about myself, and that was the most profound impact that he had on me. When he left us, I had this profound sense of loss, but then I also, through this community and through all of you, getting together with everybody, I was able to move through that grief and find a place from which I can relate to Rob on an ongoing basis and actually feel delight. That there's always the sadness, of course, that he's no longer there. Bigger than that is the power that he still has as someone who believed in me long before I did.
Sebastian, it's beautiful, and I've had the great fortune of being alongside of you watching this all unfold, and really beautiful. Jimmy.
I kind of am following Casey's vibe that Rob did such a good job preparing for his departure by training a great team and getting people on board and covering the things that he was very involved with in a few years ago. He found the right people for the right job. He was great at that And I think one of the things I miss most is having him there when we were actually recording some of these interviews. He was always kind of in the chair in the back listening in, and just having his energy there and his insight. He was a super incredible, wonderful part of the organization, and he left behind a great team to cover his loss.
Yes, he did. Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy.
One of the most important things that I learned from Rob is also how I coped, because he always said, make sure you have the tools you need to get the job done. He made sure that I was prepared. Obviously, we had time to do that. He gave me his computer, all the passwords. I knew how to get all the answers I needed. But at the same time, just the 7 years of coaching that from both you and Rob were so effective in helping me manage the grief and cope. It was that I had the tools I needed to get the job done.
And what an exemplary job you've done. I mean, all of you have done, which has made this 1.5 years just so much easier and just so incredibly helpful. And it's funny because I talk about this team a lot to people, and people who are leaders, and they're always so shocked. And it's just amazing how everybody works together and blends together and helps each other out. So thank you for what you said, Jimmy, about the team and Rob's creation of that and insurance that it would be a great working team. That has made all the difference. So I would love to go around the room again and ask, what's something you learned from Rob that stays with you today?
I'll take that. There are really two things. One is, of course, to always have a plan. Anything you undertake, however small or big, without a plan, you don't stand a chance. So that's with me every day. The other thing I learned from Rob that to me is incredibly important, and it's a little more soft and subtle, is the importance of balance. And what I mean by that is that on one hand, Rob was one of the most gentle people that I knew, but he was also a man's man. He reconciled so many opposite elements and attitudes and synthesized them perfectly. And that you don't have to be one thing or another, but that you have to recognize all the different parts of oneself and look to integrate them. And that real power comes from that.
Wow. So very, very true. Thank you, Sebastian. Casey, what's something that sticks with you that you learned from Rob?
It kind of goes with what I was saying earlier about his mentorship. But one thing I could always go to Rob with the problem, and he would put me at ease. It was always so comfortable to be around Rob. And I think that is one of the things that has helped me to cope. If there's one thing that comes easy to me, it's anxiety. And Rob kind of helped me to figure out ways to tackle problems and to relax into them. You're just trying to find an inspiration for something. Stop thinking about it, write it down, put it in your pocket, go for a walk. And that has worked for me so many times. And then there was a time that he asked me about a project I was working on. And at that time, I was feeling a lot of overwhelm. There was like a huge stack of books that were calling me. I had research to do, and I was really intimidated by them. And Rob said, you have no obligation to those books. Those books have an obligation to you. You put those books together for a reason. Now, pick up a book and think, what is it that I got this book to teach me? And then you put a time limit on it. Say, I'll give you 30 minutes, book, to tell me the answer, and I'm moving on. And he said, a well-designed nonfiction book will have the answers. It should be laid out so that you can find them easily. I look for the answer. If I can't find it, I put it down and move on. And that's really comforting to me. I've gotten a lot out of that. And I think in the time management book, he talked about reading and how to take notes and things like that. And I would just recommend that to anybody. It was a great lesson and something that I use all the time.
Well, we all laugh because he always had an answer for absolutely everything. And I did not know that, Casey. So he didn't say that to just anybody.
I think it is wonderful how Rob just told that to all of us through Casey.
Oh, thank you, Sebastian. Oh, my.
Rob's right here. That's great. Jimmy, is there something Rob said to you that stayed with you?
I don't know if it's something he said, but again, it was more how he lived. And we were laughing about it the other day with Holly Getty when we were talking about he always had an answer for everything, and not just something he made up to be smart. He was not only a man of depth, but a man of breadth as well.
A piece of Rob's wisdom that I use for myself, and I also share with others, that stay in your own lane. In other words, stick with what you know, and what you're good at. And in the workplace, you want to stay in your own lane because it's easy to step on other people's toes. And then I have another quote. I have lots of quotes on my wall, but it says, when you're moving in your own lane, there's no traffic. Go ahead and accelerate. So that accelerate can be with an A or an E. Where did he find these pieces of wisdom? They're just so awesome.
Karen has a great story.
He had always said, oh, don't worry, you can ask me, come up and ask me anything, don't worry about it. But I knew that he was sleeping most of the day. He would generally be up an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And that was sort of all the energy he had. So I didn't want him to use his energy answering a question for me that I could hopefully solve for myself. So I spent a long time working on getting an answer to a question. I can't even remember what the question was now. Finally, I had to give up. I said, I can't figure this out. I have to ask Rob. So I tiptoe up the stairs and I peek around the corner because he was sitting in his lounge chair in the living room and he was awake. So I said, Rob, is it okay if I ask you a question? And he's like, oh, yeah. And I said, I've been working so hard. I'm so sorry. I tried to figure it out, but I can't figure out how to make this work. And he's like, there's one person who knows more than me. And I'm like, really? So I get right up next to him and he's like, Google. He did not answer my question that day. He sent me to Google to find the answer to his question.
I love that. I love it because that's about right. That's about the only person smarter than him.
So the thing that always sticks with me is Rob always said, work efficiently. And that actually ties into Casey's story a little bit about, just pick up the book and find your answers as quickly as possible. And if you don't find it, you move on, because it's very important to work efficiently and not spend too much time getting frustrated, trying not to disturb Rob. I spent so much time trying to figure something out, and all I had to do was Google it.
I just thank you all. It's just inspiring because it's reminding me of all those wonderful things that he just shared on a daily basis, because pretty much everything that came out of his mouth was something smart and helpful. We did get some wonderful Women on Fire questions. And I think many of you answered some of the questions here, but I also wanted just to address one that Stacy Schatz, who is one of Rob's clients, and she's a Woman on Fire, and she and Rob were very close. And she said, what are the most frequent answers you receive when you ask yourself, what would Rob do? I hear things like, listen more deeply, stay curious. I loved her asking that because I immediately heard Rob say, is there more? If you present something to Rob that's a problem or an issue, he would say, is there more? Is there more? Until you were drained. So as the recipient, that's just a wonderful way to be in a conversation with somebody. It's like somebody's really, truly listening. The corollary to that is he often would say more about that. And then that would also help me explore. So Stacy, that was a great question. I know I've gotten many people asking me, what would Rob say or do in COVID? And what was interesting is Rob really was very much a scientist by training. He had told me that he thought what we really did need to worry about on a global basis was a pandemic. He was very sensitive to that. So in a weird way, I felt somewhat comforted knowing that he knew that and that he would certainly be the most prepared. And a couple of friends have commented he was the most prepared person for the pandemic that they would know, even though he wasn't here. So
he left you prepared for the pandemic.
I found Purell bottles everywhere, and I never bought Purell in my life. And I just kept smiling as I would uncover one bottle of something after another. I would just laugh. So I just want to thank the team so much. I truly believe that we all gained so much strength from this amazing loss. And I think we've really carried on and honored Rob in a way that he would be so deeply touched. He'll always be part of our fabric, and his legacy of clarity and kindness and determination. All of us have carried that on.